Hey guys, Becky here with Design Bundles, and I am super excited to bring you another awesome tutorial for Cricut Design Space. Now, you may be really surprised by today's video when I tell you we are learning how to create our own offset, which is a feature that is not native to Cricut Design Space, but we are doing it in the software with no extra tools required. Let's jump on in.
Alright guys, so here I am in Cricut Design Space, and today's little hack is what I feel like really useful. It's a question that I get asked a lot, and I'll be honest with you, I usually answer no because what we're doing is a workaround. Okay, so it's not really a feature that's available in Cricut Design Space, but I know it's one that a lot of Cricut users want, and is part of the reason that you'll see a lot of Cricut Design Space users working with programs like Inkscape and even in Silhouette Studio. They kind of start off with these types of features and then they learn to grow into the other software. So, just keep that in mind. I'm showing you the workaround, but it's not a perfect answer, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to show you guys on a Christmas design because of course it's Christmas season, right? So I'm just going to insert an SVG. Of course I scored this. You guys will hear this in a lot of my upcoming videos because I really made out like a king with the dollar deals, right? So I just use copy and paste. I'm going to create a duplicate off to the side. What I want to do is I'm going to change the color. I'm just going to use lilac. It doesn't matter. I just choose a lighter color. And instead of no fill, I'm going to choose print. And I'm going to use the shortcut on my keyboard. I'm going to use Control C for copy and Control V. And I'm going to paste quite a few duplicate copies there. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select my design and I'm going to choose Arrange and Send to Front. That's going to bring my original design in front of all of these copies that I just made. And then you can rearrange all of these until you create your own offset. So now you do want to keep an eye out. Let me just show you an example. See down here where the R is? So I'm going to undo. It's actually really hard if you don't get that part, in my opinion. If you don't get that part right, kind of right off the bat, I think it's hard because once you have all of these copies stacked against each other, clicking on one and kind of knowing which one that you're clicking without moving all the rest, it just seems to complicate things. Now I'm down to my last one, well, almost my last one. But when you start running low on copies, just copy and paste a few more, okay? There's no wrong answer here. You can't get too many copies. So I'm still just focusing on that R. Just remember what I said. This is a workaround. This is far from a foolproof method in my opinion. So now I'm looking at, do you see my A at the end of hot cocoa? Or rather at the end of cocoa? I'm focusing on that one right there. And I'm just going to keep piecing these together. But I'm trying to watch those type of pieces because they're the ones, those little end pieces like that. The end of a letter, those are the ones that are the hardest, I feel like, to contour around. All right, so you really want to kind of pay attention and go over and check all of your areas. One that I notice in particular is right here around the T and the O. So I'm going to bring in just one copy, not all of them, and just try to smooth that out a little bit. So this is my last copy. So if this, well, I guess I've still got, yes, that's my last copy. So if I still don't get it perfectly, then I will want to undo. And also, if it throws you off having all these copies be the same color, don't be afraid to use different colors and try to break that monotonous design up, okay? Okay, so once you feel like you have a good offset, move your original out of the way, select all of this here, and choose Weld. Now one that's still a little rough in particular, see this down here? So we will talk about how to smooth that out. And the same thing, I didn't get super well around the R. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to our circle. So we're going to bring a circle, and then we're going to change it to the same lilac color, and also change it from no fill to print. I'm using the lilac over and over because I feel like I get a little preview of what it's going to look like, and see how that curved the end of that R out. So if I want to use that again, I can still use the same copy and paste. I'm going to come over here and use it on the T. And then I can paste again. Still not real happy with how this is over here. So don't be afraid to combine your shapes together, you know, to give you that smoother look that we like in an offset. You can even unlock your aspect ratio. All right, so I see one more. So I just pasted a new copy. It's just right over here. It's on my W. Okay, so how do we feel about that? I'm feeling pretty good. Of course, you can continue to fine tune that as much as you want to, but you're going to select it all and you're going to choose weld. And that's going to combine all of this. So once it's welded together, this is a finished design. Okay, so what you'll be able to do is, if you want to, you can rearrange them, send to back, and you can line them back up and just kind of, like I said, give it a cursory glance. So see how it rounded out around some of these places, okay? So obviously, like I said, not a perfect solution, but it is a solution for those of you who have not ventured outside of the Cricut Design Space software. I do have one more thing to show you because I really don't like how the inside of this mug, and that's why I picked this one. Don't forget that you can select your offset. You can treat it just like any other design. Change it back to no fill. That way it's a cut. And you can come down here to contour. And then I can come in here and select the inside of that mug. So once those are hidden, you can exit out and it fills in your mug there. Let's change that color again. We'll just go back to the lilac. It did good for us. So now when I realign them, my mug is filled in. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that you can now layer this design. So I can select my original design if I want, make sure it's attached. Okay, we are good. Click over to make it, and it should break this out into two separate cutting mats for us. All right, so there's our new, what we're going to call an offset, because that is technically what it is, and our original design, and then I will be able to layer these. Now you may be asking, why would I want to layer those? Well, first of all, layering is really fun when you're trying to use more than one color. But then also, if I was going to fill this with a pattern, I'm a really big fan of layering when it comes to using patterns. So just to show you an example, if I go back to print and I choose a pattern, and then say I'm going to put this on a black shirt, right? Because I usually wear dark colored shirts anyway. Then the offset is going to give my design definition. Okay, so let's see, I said a black shirt, didn't I? So let's do white. And I do this a lot to illustrate. I'm a very visual person. So there we go. Whereas if I didn't have the offset and I was using a pattern, it just doesn't quite have the same pop as when I bring that offset back in. And I just really like it. I use offset in a lot of my designing, so there we go. That is how we get around not having the offset feature in Cricut Design Space.
So, guys, how do we feel about making our own offset in Design Space? Now, I know that it seems a little tedious, and believe me, it is, and it definitely can take some getting used to, but it's a worthwhile trick if all you need to do is create that offset for, your project, and you're not quite ready to jump in to learn another software yet to complement your Cricut, all right? So, Hopefully you enjoyed the video and learned a little something. And of course, if you did, make sure you give us that like, share, and subscribe, right? I love when you guys subscribe to the channel. That helps us grow and keep bringing you these really awesome tutorials. So I'm gonna wrap it up, but I'm gonna let you take care of that because I appreciate it. And we will see you again next time.